In a world where hopium and common sense collide, starring the CryptoKeeper and BlockchainCrusader. Welcome to Debate Crypto. Question everything, trust nothing. It's your boy CryptoKeeper, and we're here on a TA Thursday. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, wait a minute, is Keeper about to be giving us TA Thursday? Because if so, you're like, I'm out. No, I am not. We actually have a new guest jumping in here tonight. We've got your boy T Shroom. T Shroom in the house. How are you doing, brother?
I'm doing really, really well. Super glad to be here today.
Super excited that you're here. For those of you that don't know T Shroom, you should know him. He is now business partners and co-hosts with Tim. They used to be on Crypto Jeb, Coffee and Crypto, made the move over to now Investing Bros. So his link is down below the video. And then as every week, we've got your boy Magic Internet Money. Mr. Magic, how we doing?
Oh man, always fantastic. It's actually been a few weeks since I've been on here, so
that's true.
Happy to be back.
Took a little hiatus. Hopefully it was for good family time, and maybe you made some money at the 16 hours a day that you sit in front and trade.
I actually have traded less in the last few weeks than I think I ever have because the market's been so boring. But I went down to Florida, obviously saw CVO, and did that a little bit.
That was the first time you guys met in person, right?
Yeah, it was really cool. Got to meet him, his wife. Went and got dinner with Gareth on Friday before we came back, and it was a really good trip. You guys have great food down there, seafood, man. I'm telling you, we just cannot get that in Kansas.
Yeah, I love seafood, and it's really cool. T-Shroom, I don't know how you T-Shroom. How do you know? How do you know Tim? Or were you guys friends from growing up, or you just met each other through YouTube, TikTok? Like what?
Yeah, not TikTok, believe it or not. So Keeper, we were actually just met in town. So I was working at an IT company, and Tim was working over at Crypto Jeb, and we went to this like kind of a mixer group that we were both part of, the IT company and the company he was with, and we kind of hit it off, and we started talking about macroeconomics and the Federal Reserve and things like that. And when people get to talking about that, and they realize that there's some synergies there, it's hard to forget. So, fast forward probably 6 to 8 months later, and I went and toured their studio.
Well, he was with Jeb at this point, is what you're saying, right? He was with Jeb at that point, yeah.
He was with Jeb, and I was rocking out at an IT company, knowing very little about IT. And so, one thing led to another, and basically they offered me a job, and I started doing a lot of research and doing a lot of, co-hosting and having a really great time over there.
That's pretty cool. I know everybody's probably heard the story about Miguel and I. Me and Crusader met on TikTok. So I think it's interesting how all of these different personalities, come together, whether it's TikTok, YouTube, out in town. And you're right, though. What you just said, Shroom, is that you can tell when you get two people that are hyped up about, especially as it relates to economics, as it relates to money in particular. You can tell, and it shines a lot of times too right off the bat, whether the person that you're talking to has any sort of grasp on reality, as it were, with money, for sure. So make sure to smash the likes, fam. Follow T Shroom at the Investing Bros, and then obviously follow Magic Internet Money if you're not already. They're going to bring you some alpha as it relates to TA tonight. If you are not in the Discord, jump in the Discord. 0.01 for the opportunity to win 5 Ethereum. I don't know how else to tell it. We are teaching you things about prepping. Boom, check. The opportunity to win 5 ETH. Check. Kick butt community. Check. I mean, I don't know how much more I can offer you. Partnerships. Check. We've got it going on, and we're excited to have you if you're not already there. DangerCloseAlpha.com. I think last I checked, let me double check here. Let's take a little look-see. What are we at here with the mint? We'll take a look. We're at 1,077. So we're almost, we need to get to 2,500 is what we need to get to. We're working on it. I love you guys. We appreciate you for all that you have done and are continuing to do as we grow. Okay, cool. Let's dive into it. Let's check out the markets. Let's start there. See what's popping off, if anything. The global crypto market cap is at $846.91 billion with a B dollars. I'm looking forward to saying that T again when we get past the trillion, but I think it's gonna be a while. We're down 2.37%. The Bitcoin is down 2.53%. I do have to say, your boy Keeper is in a trade courtesy of CVO. Shout out to CVO. and my entry was literally $50 below where we're at right now. I entered at 17,350 and got a little bit of a long, looking to catch what was the golden pocket. Then there was a single print and heading back up towards like about 18K. So for those of you looking to counter trade the massive position that I have, aka $1,000, you know where you got to get me to. ETH at 1270, that's down about 3%, and then boom, flat, which is good because we're talking about stable coins. BNB, we're gonna talk about BNB tonight, down 2.58%. That's down 10% on the week. And I think T Shroom's going to kind of give us some alpha on why we think that's happening. And then rounding out the top 10, we've got Polygon Matic down about 2.5%. So let's kick it off. I'll tell you what, it's your first time on the show, T Shroom. So tell the people, what is it that you specifically, when you're doing TA, do you have some sort of a process that's particular to what you like to do and how you actually trade?
Yeah, I mean, just from a 1,000-foot level of philosophy of technical analysis, I always like to start with the zoom out, right? Start with the zoom out and try to figure out like what is kind of the momentum, and not just looking at the stochastics, which obviously specialize in showing momentum, but just like the overall momentum and feel of kind of the chart, and just kind of start there. And because at the end of the day, you can try to get feeling out as much from your trading as possible. At the end of the day, you're going to be putting that stop loss, or you're going to be pressing the buy button based on feelings and emotion. Obviously, nobody knows this more than, somebody like Magic Internet Money, right? And like other really serious day traders, but you have to try to get as much emotion as possible out, right? Mm-hmm. But I like to start with emotion. I like to end with emotion intentionally, right? So starting with the feeling of what is the
interesting.
chart.
I've not heard this before. So continue. I want to hear this. Yeah. I've not heard this before.
What does the chart kind of feel like? What is it telling me? And 9 times out of 10, it's not going to be rocket science. Either it's going to be up or down, or kind of just just kind of cruising right on down the middle, right? And then I'll kind of zoom in and I'll take a look more at like the stochastics. And I like the MACD a lot. I like to keep it simple and just kind of look at the MACD, see if I'm seeing some kind of a bull cross or a bear cross happening with those lines, and then just keep it simple, like I said. And I like to use a 200-day moving average, and that seems to be really good. But I'll use the daily, I'll use the 4-hour and the 1-hour charts. Usually don't go too much deeper into the 4 hours unless I'm totally feeling degenerate and trying to get in.
And are you actively trading like on a daily basis, on a weekly basis? What?
Yeah. So on Investing Broz, and that's with a Z at the end, on Investing Broz, our audience will know that I've been trading natural gas quite a bit up and down. I've been in a position that Caleb Franson calls like trade farming. So you use a short and a long position. And, I feel bad because I'm not really trading too much in the crypto world right now, except Matic. But like the thing is when it's really hard to trade crypto to the downside, to short it without getting into the futures world. And maybe you guys could share with me some simpler ways to do that. But other than Biddy, the ETF on Bitcoin, there's not a ton of ways to fade crypto, and without like I said, without getting into like put contracts and stuff through some of those other exchanges. So natural gas is really the thing that I trade day to day.
Interesting. We always talk crypto, but I had let's see, we had, who was talking about that? Crypto Face the other day was on and was talking about, I asked him about commodities, because our NFT drop is the commodities drop. And I asked him, hey, you're big into commodities. Are you trading any commodities? And he told a great story about how he is trading sugar. And he trades sugar. This is a true story. He trades sugar off of his leading indicator for his sugar trades are the size of the Nestle drumsticks. And I thought he was kidding. I come to find out he tells the whole thing. He's dead serious. And as I think about it, okay, true story. As I think about this, I checked. My wife likes those, and we had some in the fridge, and hopefully not in the fridge, in the freezer. And I opened it up and looked at them, and they were significantly smaller than I remembered them being. So I don't know. It's just a really funny idea. But commodities, I love it. I think it makes sense. It's macroeconomically, globally, we need to pay attention to all this stuff because it matters, right? So I absolutely love to hear that you're doing that. So Magic, Talk to me, brother. Give me the zoomed in or zoomed out, however you want to do it. Give me kind of the overall feel and look at what's going on with Bitcoin. And am I going to lose this trade, or are you thinking that maybe my my idea may be a good one?
Let's start on we'll just start on the crackhead time frame. We're gonna go to the 5 minute since that's what everybody wants to know is he gonna lose this trade? I'm actually in this trade with him. I have a slightly better entry, but I've been planning this trade for a while, so I didn't trade.
It didn't take me that long. I just had to get on the phone with CVO this morning, right, and talk it through, and then all of a sudden it was there. So I want to say thank you while I'm on stream, because I know that it probably came from you, or at least a portion of it came from you.
It was definitely my level. I'll be upfront with you. I'm not saying CVO couldn't have found that himself, but realistically, what you're looking at is a swing fail here on the weekly time frame. And I'll move this over. You see what I'm talking about. You see this wick? It's essentially keeping price down. We break above it, you back test it. Now you move down to the daily time frame, and you can see that you've got another swing failure pattern as well here that you're working off of. And all you're doing now is just saying, okay, where's my gold pocket? Right here. Where is my breakout level based on a swing failure basis? And the reason I bring that up is it's important to do that because it really does take out the subjectiveness and the emotion of it. You're using a daily and a weekly time frame. So you now have a constant. You don't have a variable. You're just saying, okay, these are my time zones. They're medium to high time frame. They're going to get a reaction. I've got confluence. And it's backed up by my monthly open, which is a really important area to hold. That's why I'm kind of in this, if we lose this region, it's not really good. Main reason being is if you take a look at like our Q2 low, which is what we've been kind of battling with here at 17.5, that low from the previous range, you've closed below it on the monthly, right? And you tried to get back above it, but what you've done is you've found resistance. And so what you don't want to do is open this month below here and then close below here again, confirming this as resistance. That's what that would look like. And when you zoom into like the, day to day, and we turn on our monthly average from the prior month, I actually covered this with you guys, T-Stream, last time I was on with you guys, was what am I looking for? I'm looking for these to start shifting to the upside, these monthly pivots or monthly averages of price. And you can see that you've come up above it and then back down. So you're still trading below the prior session average in terms of a pretty high time frame. And then if you just looked at this from an overall, viewpoint, and you said, what's my Fibonacci pool from last month? That's all I need to know is what's going on in the prior month. And I'm going to use an order block template for this. And you can see that this is your 50% mark. So all you've done is done a mean reversion back to the prior month average, and you've come up to the 50% mark. Now the question is, can we reclaim the Q2 low and get back up there? And that bleeds into the low time frames here on the crack. So what you have available to you for a potential trade off of that support is really good invalidation, but you closed outside of the previous session range. And that gives you a unique opportunity in the sense that if you can reclaim this on 2 30-minute closures, you actually have a little over 75% chance of reaching the previous day point of control, which is all the way up here at 17,681, which would be a pretty big take profit for me if reached, because you were just discussing the single print, which I'll bring up for you right here. And you can see this is your single print, and it starts opening up at 17,692. Now, what's important about a single print is to note that this is generally going to be something that if there's a strong trend, it's going to be defended. So that coming in right at the previous day point of control, it's going to be an area that I'm going to be looking for a take profit. I'm probably not going to try to squeeze too much more out of that trade if given, right? So that's where I'm at on it. Pretty simple stuff, I think. If you just kind of zoom, I guess we did zoom out first and then to zoom in.
And then zoomed in, yeah.
Yeah, but
the people have 2 questions real quick for you, just not to cut you off. But why do you use white candles? Somebody was asking why you use.
I'm colorblind.
What's that?
So I'm colorblind.
Well, there's your answer. He is colorblind. You learn something new every day. And I hear you say this all the time, but I've never thought to ask. And I'm host on the show, but I'm not scared to ask. What do you technically mean by swing failure pattern? I hear you guys use it all the time, but I've never thought to ask you like what you actually mean by that.
So this is actually one of the ways to get one of the best trading entries is a swing failure pattern. We have an entire video dedicated to it. It's like 45 minutes long. Not only how to identify it on a chart, but how to identify it in volume, because that's really where you're going to see it. So what you're doing is you're trapping traders at the low. So this low right here, when we made it, I think I was on with Miguel when we were talking about it. I was like, there's about a 80+% chance we are going to take this low. And the question is, will we swing fail it? So what that means is you come down, you take the low, you trap shorters down here, people that are opening positions, sellers basically, and you use them as fuel to then run to the upside, right? So that's what you're looking for. And you did a very similar thing here on the weekly. So on the weekly time frame, you're looking for a change of behavior. This is your weekly swing failure pattern, right? So you can see right here, this is resistance, resistance. Now it's coming into support. If we turn on our daily, candlesticks, you can see you actually back test it and then get your move up. Now, if you go down to the daily, you can then add another one. You can say this is a daily swing failure pattern. Let me get rid of this real quick. And you can see again on the daily time frame now locally, boom, 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 boom. So you've got a zone between 17,174 and 17,245 that you're looking at as resistance. So we need to either see a weekly closure above 17,174 or a daily closure above 17,245 in this instance to get that move. Obviously, it was far more impulsive than that. But that's what a swing failure pattern
so
is.
It's almost literally like swing and a miss, swing and a miss, swing and a miss, where it keeps on tapping that area as resistance.
It's resistance in some cases, but what it gives you is invalidation, and that's what the most important part of it is. And what invalidation is going to give you in an instance like this, like where you swung fail this, right? You have a successful swing failure pattern. Now you have a stop loss, and it's literally directly below the low. So you have one of the best, tightest stop losses you can get on a valid setup, and then you can take that and ride it to the upside. And this was a really simple trade. Normally, I don't trade this simple, but this was the setup I was looking for, basically, just a channel. And I was looking to short up here, took the short. I got out before the Q2 low, which was our bounce here. And then I really haven't taken any other trades outside of this one scalp long. So I'm kind of being judicious in terms of what I'm doing day trading right now. Kind of waiting to see what happens, because if we start breaking down below that December open, there's a really good chance there's a lot of people are going to be looking for 16.5, which is a high volume area. But generally, when you deviate a range the way we just did, you're going to rotate the range in full. So you're not supposed to diddle in the middle. You've probably heard me say that before. And that is what you do anytime that you start buying points of control, is you are diddling in the middle. And that's not a great place to be looking for invalidation in terms of a trade, like a swing trade. Maybe for a scalp, sure, but in terms of like looking for swing trades, looking to the middle of the range isn't the best place. So that's what I'm doing.
I appreciate that. I like the little things. Sometimes something as simple as that is just saying, hey, listen, you're looking for the bottom of the channel or you're looking for the top of the channel. The diddle in the middle is just something that I absolutely can relate to. Is if you've got that clear channel and hey, listen, why are we just going to start? Because effectively we're really rolling dice right there in the middle, right? As to which way it's going to go. It's like, hey, 50-50, and I'll just go ahead and throw my dice down on the table and see what happens here.
And
just not
very good. This before, but you can always lose a trade whether you got a great entry or not, right?
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where you want to up the chances of having the best invalidation and the best risk. And the lowest amount of risk is from either the top of the range or the bottom of the range. Once you start iterating in the middle, it chops around a lot. A lot of people lose money. They get stopped out most of the time. So that's why I always say don't diddle in the middle and you'll be a happy person. But it also teaches patience, so that's a big part of trading, patience.
I like that saying a lot. Shout out to Greg Gressick, our new media manager. We will do an official announcement on that, but we have brought on Greg to do some media management for us. He's been doing a great job so far. So shout out to you, Greg. Appreciate you for being here, listening in, and checking out what we got going on. All right, so T-Shroom, we kind of looked at the setup that really was based around the trade that I was asking Magic about. Talk to me about on kind of a larger scale what you're looking at as it relates to Bitcoin and what you're kind of expecting over maybe, I don't know, the next week or so. And actually pause before you do that. Hold that 1 second. Come here,
Uh-oh.
Beautiful Addison wants to tell everybody to be your own bank. Don't get FTX'd. And just stack without the exchanges. Say bye-bye. Say I love you. Say I love you, people. Daddy loves you. Okay. The ledger link is down below the video if you're looking for that. that is a daily occurrence, T-Shroom. That's my little daughter. She's 18 months old. And announcement to everybody, she went pee-pee on the potty 3 times today at 18 months old. So proud dad right here. Proud dad moment. You know what I mean?
That's awesome. That's awesome.
All right, so talk to me about what kind of you're seeing over on the Bitcoin market.
For sure. Well, I'll go ahead and show my chart here. So I've got a couple of thoughts here. I think we've got a little lower to go. I mean, this range and Magic Internet Money had a similar range here. I think we're going to go ahead and we're going to probably go ahead and close this gap at least. So that's kind of obvious to me. So over probably the next 24 hours, we'll come back and we'll touch 17.2. But that's not going to be news to too many people. What I think going forward, so the question was kind of the rest of the week. I think you are starting to see the MACD kind of curl here. So you're starting to see the MACD kind of decelerate in terms of like the length of its candlesticks. What does that mean? I mean, overall, that's an overall bullish thing, right? So it's slowing. So it's gonna. So I'm thinking just kind of it's gonna come down and tap, and then we're gonna go higher here. Now, the only thing that I would say that would invalidate that is actually going over to the equities market. You can see zooming out here to the daily chart. And have I crossed any boundaries here by going into equities? Is that okay?
No, absolutely not. Wide open, bro. Get it.
Awesome. So yeah, so here on this is the SPY. If you don't know what the SPY is, it's basically the market, right? This is the U.S. stock market. So here we had the decision yesterday from the Fed, and that really had an overall bearish effect on the market. And but what it didn't do was completely tank it, right? You didn't see a huge red candlestick like this. You did see a little bit of a gap down, but there was some stability, I would say. So what does that mean? I think that means that there's going to be a gradual decline. So there's not going to be like a sudden and abrupt drop. I think there's going to be a gradual decline to come down, and eventually, I think we're going to test 300. Whether or not we're going to stay in that range, we're going to it's going to take some more time. I think we're going to more than likely come down and tap probably the bottom, if I was to draw a line here, of a range that's like this, and then go higher. Now, how does that translate over the Bitcoin? Let me get to that in just a second. So just to review, it's going to be a gradual. I just lost my line there. A gradual decline, and then probably a resumption upward and then by this time we're in February, right? So we're in Q2. By that time, I'm thinking we're going to see Bitcoin by that time, going out to the daily chart here in Bitcoin, we're going to see it also kind of paired to the U.S. equities as it trades. Now, it trades closer with
Is that on ETH? Hold on a second. I think you're on ETH.
Oh, yep. Good call there. Yep. All right. Sorry about that. Let me go back.
No worries.
Go back here. So yeah, so I think it has a stronger correlation. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but it has a stronger correlation with the Nasdaq. But I was just showing the S&P. So probably by February, you're gonna be seeing a lower Bitcoin. Now, I think it'll track pretty closely with equities. And what I mean by that is that it's not going to just have a sudden drop unless we have major news coming out of this FTX narrative, or if something slips with Binance, which God forbid something like that happens, because that could be pretty catastrophic.
Yeah.
Or if there is some kind of other bankruptcy news elsewhere. Genesis has had some cracks. Some things like that. But I think, and going back over to my charts here, I know I was kind of psyching out the the producer there, but I think as we move forward with Bitcoin, I do think that you're going to see it kind of track the S&P for the most part. So what that means essentially, going into Q2 of next year, we're going to see probably something around the same lines that the S&P was doing. So it probably comes back and tests this midline here. If I was to draw a midline, it's probably going to come back and test this midline. But then with the S&P, all this weight coming down to the downside, it's probably going to go ahead and reject that and then come back down, cross through that support. And then from there, I don't think that we have a catastrophic any kind of capitulation or anything like that. I think what happens is we just have a simple new range, right? And so it's going to find a new range somewhere. I'm just drawing lines. This could be literally anywhere. It could come down quite a bit lower, or it could, have some kind of spike if Elon were to tweet, right? And so, but at some point, I think it's going to find a new range to be in, and from there, then it's just going to continue to track the S&P. But I think from here until probably mid Q1. We're just going to be seeing it just kind of track equities, to be honest with you. And I think I don't think it's that bearish of a story. I think that the market is finding comfort in what the Fed's done here. It's of course it's his press briefing came off a little more hawkish than I think the market was expecting. But at the end of the day, we got a 50 basis point hike, right? It's not 75. So I think that there was some initial sell off, but it wasn't to the downside so aggressively that I think that we're gonna see a huge sell off in higher risk names like Bitcoin or like DraftKings on the equity side or something like that.
Okay. So I know I think the majority of people that are at least trading anyway pay attention to, and even when I'm not trading, I pay attention because I think that it's still a risk on asset, right? Bitcoin, Ethereum, these are assets that are risk on, and even more than that, they're crypto, right? So the risk is even just like elevated that much higher. Magic, I know you get in and definitely pay attention to these markets as well. Do you have anything that you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, I agree with him on some of the targets to the downside here. I wanted to show him my chart because this is something I've been tracking pretty closely.
Yeah, let's check it out.
And it's just it's interesting. So SPX, really, really simple chart. This quarter one low right here is going to be your big area. This was the area I was targeting coming up to. Main reason being is if you were to come in and then actually look at this from a volume profile going into Q4, but not including Q4, it's actually your value area low. So that was kind of the first sign of it. And then you ended up having multiple harmonics, and we'll talk about timing because I agree with your timing on mid-February. But you had this harmonic as a reversal pattern. From there, you're looking for the X and the B leg. We covered this actually on Debate Crypto, guys. So this was one of the first places I actually went over this with Bill Noble back in the day. And this was your target looking for this rejection. And you didn't just have that. You also had a really nice shark coming in here. So when you look at this, this is a reversal pattern, and the target of this is going to be the 50%. So it's not really the end of the world. You can see the 50% is coming in here. You could go ahead and throw a box on here, and this would have been the completion zone right here looking for that pattern. Now, in terms of timing, I prefer to use regressions versus trend lines because I have my own custom regression, and it's something that I've given the group, mainly because it tracks a little more like a channel and less kind of sporadic. But this is pretty much your trend. And then as we throw time onto it, because I like time distribution, this has been the timing for the pivots. So you can see your first one coming in here, here, here. This one was a little early, kind of threw me off a bit, but doesn't really change anything. And the very next date coming in is actually middle of February, Valentine's Day, is the 618 pivot for the next SPX zone. So the only thing I would say is if you guys do zoom out on this, and we were talking about zooming out earlier, go to the 12-month, go to the yearly chart. And the reason I bring that up is when you look at this, this is almost a bearish engulfing yearly candle. So you really want to see the 2021 open and the 2021 low being defended. So at a minimum, you really don't want to be living below 37.64 or 36.62. And I think that's probably fairly obvious given it's pretty close to our current low. But if you start closing below those in the next coming weeks, especially, which I don't foresee happening, but if it does happen, that's a really big red flag. And I would be looking all the way down to like 32, 36. And I think you were looking at Spider on there. So it was like 330 or 300. So very similar targets, and always interested to see how the TA stacks up. But yeah, definitely in agreement there. So yeah, that's really all I had on that.
I think it's always interesting too, how completely different traders. I've seen you do this with Gareth on, Gareth on the show, and I've seen you do it with Tim before. I've just seen multiple different traders come up with like the targets are daggone close, and they're doing, they're trading much differently. So I think it's really cool. I have been slowly but surely over the years becoming more and more of a believer in TA. If you would have asked me 4 years ago if I believed in TA, I would have told you that it might as well be black magic, and that well, at best, I think astrology. I would have told you that astrology was probably a better option. But what I'm starting to see is the most simple of things, and it's just that if enough people are looking at these charts in similar fashions and trading off of those, then it doesn't even need to be like a science. It just needs to be enough people agreeing on the fact that, hey, when this happens, this is generally what direction this goes, and they trade off of that. What I think is interesting, though, I think CVO said it the other night. We had him on Mondays, and he said something basically where you are actively playing ball. You are trading against the best traders in the world when you sit down at a chart. And so Forrest said it's like golf. Would you go out and bet $1,000 a hole if you play golf a couple times a year? Absolutely not. You would not do it, right? But yet we sit down at the computer, we watch a couple YouTube channels, and we say, oh, yeah, this is easy. I got this. No big deal. And think that we're going to effectively play Tiger Woods for $1,000 a hole. And it does not make sense. It doesn't line up. And I think it's a really cool way to just show the simplicity of, like, why do we think that trading, why do we think so many people are not profitable in trading, but yet we're going to be without any practice? It's crazy.
Honestly, it's not even TA that makes a person profitable into trading. I'm actually a firm believer that TA is one of the easiest things a person can learn. It does take some practice, obviously, but the hardest part.
Tell me risk management.
Not just risk management, but just the psychology behind it. So everyone's journey in trading is going to be different, and whether it's the TA portion, but the psychology portion is always going to be unique into yourself. And so the hardest thing for someone to learn when they're trading is that you're going to be wrong, because we have this weird self-importance that we're always going to be correct. And that's the importance of journaling. And so when I bring that up, is it's not necessarily to harp on the things you're doing wrong, because perfection is not a thing in trading. If you're aiming to be perfect, you're gonna be falling in love with your own ideas, and you're gonna be wrong, and you're not gonna be willing to admit it to yourself and get out of the position, whatever it may be. But if you write it down in a journal, I was wrong on this, here's why. That's when things start to go, okay, you're going into every trade and you're reinforcing the idea that I'm not smarter than the market. The market is never wrong. Only my opinions are. And all I can do is try to mitigate against being incorrect, because if I'm wrong, I can only control how much money I lose. I cannot control the outcome of the trade. That's it. And if you do that, you will find so much success. It's just, that's why it takes people 3 to 5 years to become profitable, because they fall in love with this idea in their head that they're smart, because they start seeing TA play out and things like that. Yeah. I did it, everybody does it. Everyone that's listening is like, oh, this is great advice. I'm not going to make that mistake. I promise you, you will probably make that mistake. And it's really going to be up to you to come to terms with yourself and your own journey to make sure that you rectify that. That's all it is.
I like that you said write it down. If I'm like upset, and let's just say I'm having like an interaction with somebody via text message, or especially text message, right? And I really just want to say something, and I'll text it, and I know damn well I should not send this text message, right? but even just texting it without sending it, actually writing it down, and even if you still just erase it, for me, I'm just speaking for myself here. There's something about writing it down. It's like you kind of like said what you needed to say, even if, you know what I mean? So I like the idea that you're saying is like, write down and journal what's actually happening, because it's also hard to look back. Like I was looking at this earlier today when I was on Femex, and I looked back at some of my old trades, and I don't remember anything about them. I was like, what was I thinking here? Well, how did I make some good money here? I have no idea what I did on any of them. You know what I mean? I just know that, hey, I made money here, lost money there, made money here. And I have no idea about any of them, and if I did anything right, wrong, or indifferent.
When I go over the charts on many different channels at this point, your guys's or whoever's, they're always like, I can't believe the memory you have. And one of the biggest reasons I memorize all these trades and all these patterns that played out and when I got long, things like that, is because I did write them down. And, it reinforces good habits, but it also helps you spot bad trends and habits that are going to keep you from being unsuccessful. So yeah, definitely, man. If you're writing them down, just like you said, like you're gonna have way more success way faster.
Shroom, you've been shaking your head, and it looks like you're about to say something. Talk to me.
Yeah. Well, I was just gonna ask if either of you, do you guys ever go into a position long and short at the same time?
Yeah, the hedge schlong? For sure. What'd you call it, a schlong?
A schlong, yeah, short long.
I have done it before. The little bit that I trade, I've done it before. It was suggested to me a number of different times. It's basically mitigating the the amount that you can actually lose. And guess what? It's going to go one of the directions, right? And now you can get beat up if it just diddles in the middle in between.
That's referred to as a straddle, by the way. That is an actual, it's a straddle. It's more common in options in Forex, but straddle is what the term of that is, where you're basically trying to mitigate. The problem with something like Bitcoin is it has the habit during volatile times to wick out both sides.
Dude, that's a really good point.
You get that whipsaw effect. So the straddle is kind of a
get smacked on both trades. Pop.
Dude, I don't know if you guys were trading Bitcoin back in 2020, but like the term Darth Maul dildo was an actual
Yes.
Term.
Oh,
That
yeah,
was like
yeah, yeah.
it was like a technical term, and
Yeah.
it was because it's such an illiquid market in comparison to other larger markets that like it would wick people out up and down both sides, and it would happen so fast in like a matter of minutes.
Yeah.
And it was just the ruiner of all trades, you know. So yeah.
T-Shroom, what were you about to go ahead? Go ahead.
Well, where I was going with that is I've been having the most success that I've had in a long time with doing just that, and that's taking a long and a short position on natural gas,
Okay.
which I'm not going to go into super detail about my macro concept for that, but just from a trading standpoint, uh, I've been having a lot of success with that just because the levels are a lot more apparent in the commodities because it's so supply and demand based. A lot of times you're just waiting on economic data. You're waiting on like supply numbers, and you're waiting on things like that. You're waiting on temperatures in Europe or in the United States. Like right now, the U.S. is very cold, and like there's unprecedentedly cold temperatures. So that means that there's going to be more gas that's needed. So that gives me a strong conviction and a strong bias to the upside, which allows me to, when I go into the trade up and down, I know that every time that it goes down, I can sell that short and take that profit and put it long and compound that long. And then every time it comes back up, you just do the exact opposite. You put a little more into the short, and then you're riding free. Now, it can go south if if your bias ends up being wrong, and a cold front doesn't come in, or a supply shortage doesn't happen that was reported to have happened. But ultimately, what I've found in energy is that it's pretty reliable, the news of what's going to happen, and there's consensus among institutions and that becomes more solidified more quickly. Whereas with Bitcoin, there is supply and demand effects, and there's but it honestly just kind of trades with the chart more. It's a lot of just what trading psychology, and a little bit of like whale movement, and then obviously huge events like FTX and Elon saying that it's bad for the environment and things like that are those fundamentals to trade on. So anyway, yeah, going long and short has been fun, and there's a big community out there of people who there's all these different ETFs, whether it's like construction materials. There's longs and shorts of those, and I should also mention that these are triple leveraged, so you are taking quite a bit more risk.
Oh yeah.
But if you're going both ways,
yeah,
you can mitigate that.
You heard it here first. T-Shroom swings both ways. You heard it here first on Debate Crypto.
Yeah, and I don't diddle in the middle.
No diddling in the middle. He swings both ways.
I diddle everywhere but the middle.
Crypto Pollo says, Debate Crypto, question for everybody. When you enter a trade, do you set an entry point? I'd love us all to answer. This is a great question. Do you set an entry point with your stops and take profits, place the order, and let it ride? If not, how do you do it? So I'm gonna kick it off with this one. So for me, and I think that the answer that you're probably going to hear, I don't want to speak for anybody else, is depends on what your schedule looks like, and it depends on what you're doing on a daily basis. Because for me, I am out and about for my other businesses so much, and just can't be paying attention the way that I would need to, I feel like, to make some decisions. I like to set a stop. I like to set a stop loss for sure, and I like to set a take profit, if not two. But ultimately, because you can set a, hey, take 50% here, you can set percentages or whatever the case may be. But normally I have a target. I have a target that I don't want to go below, and I have a target that I'm like, hey, let's not be greedy and take profit at that. The other problem that I've run into in the past, and then I'd like to hear from you guys, is that I've talked about this a lot. My greed has killed me in the past. I'll start making what is fantastic money, make 100% on a trade, and think, well, I mean, probably get 200 out of this one. You know what I mean? And I've literally just gotten greedy. And so for me, the other great thing about the take profit is it just makes me do it. Well, yes, you can pull back. Yes, you could jump in and, take the conditional order and throw it out. Yeah, sure. But what I'm trying to say is, because I'm out and about so much, boom, I'll come back home and see with the little bit that I trade. I'm not trading a lot, but I'll be like, oh, okay. Well, I got wicked out there, got stopped out, or man, I made some money. So that's for me. That's how I kind of do things. Shroom, what's your thoughts on that?
The textbook answer is yes, every single time, right? But in reality, sometimes I don't, and the reason for that is if I'm just like convicted, or if I'm honestly, if I'm just lazy. And that's something that you shouldn't do, right? But I'm just being honest and transparent because you're asking the question. But you really
But you're
should
using
stick.
a small percentage of your account, and
Yeah.
you're not using cross leverage, correct?
Now that's it. Well, I don't use leverage to trade. I will buy and sell ETFs that have leverage baked into it. So
Okay.
there's a little bit of a difference there,
Okay.
especially if you're going both ways on it. But if I'm making a trade that I have strong conviction, I want to actually make money on that trade, meaning like I'm looking to make probably $300 or $400 on a trade. That means
Mhm.
I'm having to put up a decent amount of capital to do that. I'm absolutely using a stop loss.
Okay.
But if I see some like, some penny stock action, haven't really done that in a long time. So let's use a different example. If I see some headline on some company I've never heard of before, like CNBC is giving some tip, I probably won't put a stop loss. I'll just buy the company and just like see, oh, okay, it rode up 22%. I'll sell it. And maybe I only put,
Right.
$300 or $400 on the line to do that.
Mhm.
So it's really not that big of a deal if it goes, if I see it starts to come down, okay, I'm down $40, screw it. I'm just not going to do, I'm not going to let this go down anymore on something I don't know anything about.
Yeah.
So I would say it's proportionate to your convictions,
Yeah.
right? If you're highly convicted in something, you probably you're going to be less inclined to put a stop loss in it, but that's more of an investing strategy. With trading, you almost always want to put a stop loss, again, unless you feel like it's kind of a YOLO, just, so I would love to hear what Magic Internet Money's take on that, though. Is my guess is that it's a stop loss every time.
I do have a little different take for you guys on this one. So I do not always have it preset in the moment because I don't preset trades. I take trades only
You're
when I'm
saying
at my
you do
trades.
market orders all the time, is what you're saying?
I am a market order in, limit order out guy.
Really?
I
I didn't
am
know
one of those
that.
people that. Yep, I will limit. So I do it occasionally if like I'm on like so last week when I was visiting CVO, there was a level I gave. It was 17,334, which everyone's like, what the hell? And I was like, it was literally the top to the dollar, and I had preset a pretty large amount for that top and shorted it, and it paid for the trip to Florida type thing. Rarely will you catch me doing that. And then I'm just using a generic percentage basis of, stop loss that's preset. But yeah, so like I took the short yesterday. Somebody asked, did I trade during Jerome Powell's speech? Yes. I was looking for 18,591 actually, but it didn't quite hit that. However, when I went into the order flow, I could see that the trend was changing and I knew I needed to get involved. And so I took the short there. And then my stop loss goes above the high. And then I start looking for my take profits. I'm one of those people that what we do is the footprint chart is a unique name because you're looking for the footprints of the market maker and of the institution. And then you're looking to basically ride that new trend until that footprint disappears. That's a very textbook answer for it. So when I'm trading, I have to ask myself, what is the purpose of this trade? Is this a day trade? Is this a swing trade? Is it a hedge? And that's really going to dictate, how I'm going to interact with that trade. Like I'm still holding a trade from last April, as you're aware, and the market's going up and down, but that trade is meant to protect me against drawdown because I hold quite a bit of Bitcoin. So, and I still want to make some money on it, which I will. It's just one of those things where I'm not going to touch it, and I have no predetermined closures except for like $3,300, $3,700. I'll close it then. But it's one of those things where until that happens, until I see the market change, I don't have a take profit set for it. It's protecting my capital. So it really depends on the nature of the trade because there's swing trades, day trades. Like I'm in and out of the market sometimes in less than a few minutes. And there's other times where I'm like, I'm going to hold this trade for months because I know that the trend has changed and I'm just trying to ride that as far as I can. And then when the trend changes back to the upside, I'll get out, and that's the hardest part for people is.
But you're disciplined to do that, man. I think a lot of people are not disciplined to do what you're saying.
How many people that took the short that I gave that short in the group, and I even told them I'm not going to close this trade, like verbatim. I'm not closing this trade. That's an indication to everyone that I should just have this thing open. But everyone took profits early at the the very next target, and it's because they get excited to make money, But in reality, the purpose of that trade was to protect yourself against the coming drawdown because we knew that the trend was coming to an end, and we were getting confirmation of this range is going to expand to the downside from like 40, 45K. So yeah, it just depends. It's a very subjective thing. And as long as you have a working strategy, do what works for you. And that really is the most important thing. Like if you're making money, like T-Shroom's got his strategy and it's working for him, keep doing it. Don't feel the need to just change things because you're like, well, that guy, what he said makes sense. Find what works for you. Find how you can extract money from this market regularly, and you're going to be doing better than 95% of the people that are involved. But if you're constantly, if you don't have a strategy and you don't have a way to like predetermine stop losses, things like that, I would sit down and, like we said, journal, like start figuring it out. One thing I do want to do is I posted it on my Twitter about journaling, how many people journal, because not very many people do. I also think that's why there's not many successful traders. But one of the big things was people were like, I don't even know where to start with a journal. Like, what should I be tracking? So that is something I want to do video wise and like release and probably put it on Twitter, maybe even make a generic one so that everyone can just, download it in Excel and be like, oh, I've got a generic
Maybe
journal.
you could show one. Maybe you could show one of yours.
I write mine.
I know, but what I'm saying is you could take a picture of it, put it on Twitter, and then break it down.
So I have shared it with him. So like I'm a little bit more of a psychology journalist in the sense like I write down when I wake up and what time I get out of bed. That's very important to me. How much time did I spend in bed looking at my phone? What time did I get to my trading station in the morning? How was I feeling that day? Did I get my morning routine?
And you do all of that?
Yeah. Every day I write it down.
Wow.
So, that to me is far more important at this point in my trading career than, other things. Because if I'm distracted and I feel like I'm behind on the day and I'm sitting at my computer looking for a trade, it's like, I'm just not.
I've got a question on that. What is the number one variable that affects your trading that people wouldn't expect?
Sleep.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, wait a minute. You sleep, Magic? You sleep?
I do. I haven't been sleeping well. I don't know if you guys can tell. I have a respiratory infection, so I haven't been feeling that great. I feel like you Floridians are super spreaders. But I got back like last night. So I took a nap before Sin City yesterday with Gareth, and then I took a nap before our members live stream at 8:30. Got 2 hours of sleep total there, and then I laid in bed awake because I couldn't sleep because of this until 5 a.m. today. So I skipped our morning live stream and let CVO and them do it, and I slept till noon. So like my sleep schedule is completely messed up because of the illness, and that's one of the reasons why I said I haven't been trading much. Well, sleep, I don't feel well. There's no point in me stressing me out anymore with trading. The market's going to be there tomorrow. I'll get a good trade then. But sleep. And I really think it's important that people take their mind off of this. It's really hard once you get hardcore into the TA and really hard once you get hardcore into markets to stop thinking about it and talking about it. So that's why when people ask me why I work out so much, dude, I'm not thinking about anything else other than trying to get a workout in. And Keeper, I know you go to the gym. You've got to agree. Like, go to the gym. I got one focus, get a pump, So that's it.
No, for sure.
That's what I would say is take care of yourself and then do the little things, kind of like you're saying, like don't be lazy. T-Shroom said it, and we all do it. I'm guilty of it too. And if you don't do those things and over time make them habits, because we are creatures of habit, you establish that base, you'll find quite a bit of success.
I think there's a lot of wisdom in what you're saying. And so for me, I started to notice that, obviously like TikTok has put me into like started me off. Right. So it started to get a TikTok following, then all of a sudden, got onto YouTube, whatever. Right. But on the other side of that, I've also been a consumer on the TikTok end of things, right? Not just sitting down and wasting my day away. I have no time to do that. However, in the mornings, when I get up nice and early before I go work out. Like, I think you need to have some me time. But what I started to notice was that my me time could be spent way better than some of this mindless freaking TikTok. And so what I started to do, this is going to be a free promotion for this, whatever, because I'm not being paid by them. But there's a thing called Headway, and it is effectively books condensed into 15 or 20 minutes. And I play it on like 1.25 speed, and I usually listen to it and read it at the same time. I don't know why that just does well for me. And I literally have been powering through these books. And so I've been trying to trade effectively, full on reading. And again, I'm not reading the whole book, but I'm getting the thesis of all of these and then some, you know what I mean? And I feel like I'm getting this knowledge versus just waste, because I feel like, man, TikTok can be an absolute black hole for me.
Honestly, that's why I write down when I get out of bed, because I know I'm on my phone and I want to know how much time am I wasting in the morning on my phone. And I'm going through stuff like TikTok. My TikTok's probably way different than you guys. I don't get a lot of crypto content, believe it or not. I am like on air fryer TikTok and like, kids falling off bikes because I think it's kind of funny. They're not like seriously hurt, but things like that.
Yeah. While we're down,
go ahead.
While we're down in the rabbit trail of impulse phone grabs and things like that. So I realized that this was a thing now because I saw my girlfriend and other people in my life just like kind of scrolling through Snapchat or Instagram or whatever. And I never did that. But then I started to, and when I came back from Army basic training, I was so devoid of any dopamine while I was Army basic training. So when I came back, everything was like a shock. Like going to a grocery store was a shock because of all the colors.
Dude, I know exactly what that felt like for sure.
But anyway, so I started to kind of feel myself sink in. And so what I did was I put Craigslist as my like go-to thing. So I would come in, open my phone just like kind of impulsively, but instead of cutting myself off altogether, which would take too much self-control, I concluded, I just made myself go to Craigslist and I would just scroll through. And what it did is for a lot of people, this isn't going to be valuable, but what it did is it helped me find deals on things I needed and help me understand like the prices of graphics cards and things like that too. So I don't know if that's going to work for everybody, but I would suggest if you find yourself getting into like content rabbit holes where it's useless, and you're maybe even getting like addicted to things online and things like that, find an alternative app because you're probably not going to be able to turn off that motor skill addiction, but you will be able to like divert it into something somewhat productive. TikTok
is literally known to be, it's intended to be addicting. You are literally getting dopamine and serotonin hits, and that's why the content being short form. And then like when I go through and edit my videos, this is just a fact. I have I'm 38 years old. I have what people call the millennial pause. So like I'll be speaking, I'll take a breath, and on video, it takes up a lot of time. And what I recognized was somebody told me, hey, you got to get rid of all those. And I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, literally all of those little stupid pauses in between, whatever, cut them out. And immediately when I started cutting those out, it shortened up the video for one, but for two, it's boom, they get that dopamine hit. Change the background a little bit, which I'm not as good at doing that, but showing them something different. Boom, boom, boom. And ultimately that is, that has done well for content. But on the other side of that, I fall into the trap of, getting into the content like that as well.
Check this out really quick. On that note, this was something, there was an update because they actually passed this, but Senate they banned federal employees from using TikTok on government devices. Because
that's more of a China thing, I think.
But I mean, it's designed to be addicting, and then they just hoover up all your data and sell it, for profit, but then they also database that for later.
Shroom. We're not going to remind me after the show, and I'll go over what my guilty pleasure is of like surfing alternative, like marketplaces.
Oh boy.
After
letting us know about his favorites on OnlyFans. We'll do that after. First of all, Kenton, I want to say thank you very much. Kenton throwing out a super chat. I saw another super chat earlier, but Kenton says, thanks for the alpha, Magic Internet Money, and T-Shroom. And we do thank you guys. We're glad that you are here. Also, if you have not smashed the like, people, please, you already know what time it is. YouTube needs the likes. We would appreciate it as we try to grow. Jump into our Discord as well. Danger Close Alpha. I don't wear this goofy vest for nothing. Okay. Trying to advertise here. Help a brother out. DangerCloseAlpha.com. You can find everything that you need from there and jump into our NFT project. We got commodities being sold. So to kind of finish things off tonight, I want to do something a little bit different on the back end of this. I mentioned BNB earlier, and normally we focus on Bitcoin and ETH. And I know ETH and Bitcoin are doing very, very similar things right now, but something that's not doing similar things. So I'd love to, I don't know, what are we, about 6 minutes outside of an hour? Over the next few minutes, I'd love to hear, T-Shroom, can you give me kind of a macro on what's happening with BNB? Because it's made moves that has been going against what the rest of the market has been doing. Can you talk to me about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So BNB has really, I'll just go to the chart really quick for this one. BNB has really sold off here. You see a decent, this is on the daily charts. You see a decent spike here in sell volume, right? And you see the MACD start to pick up some momentum here. And the RSI is showing that it's well within kind of the bear territory there. So at the macro level, though, basically what's been going on is that, it's part of the FTX story. This overall narrative is, it's like this forest fire going back through crypto. That's what these bear markets are. It's like, hey, there's some snakes in the grass that need to be weeded out. There's some, there's, keeping with the forest fire analogy, there's some shrubbery that's overgrowing and it's choking the forest. There needs to be a forest fire. Well, turns out FTX definitely needed to be burned down, right? Yeah. Well, now that process may be overcorrecting, and the forest fire might be spreading to something that is much bigger and much more integral. So, but one would say, a pure libertarian, a pure free market believer would say, if there is something that needs to be burned down, it should be. And, on the other side of FTX being burned down, we probably would have wished it hadn't, right? Because it did ultimately hurt our pockets. Not that much, though, surprisingly, if you look at the crypto prices. But anyway, so that's kind of the macro scene. Is now the folks are thinking, hey, if this could happen to FTX, could it happen to Binance? Now, Binance has been around a lot longer, and CZ has a lot better of a reputation, the CEO of Binance. But so basically my thesis on it is it's a buy the dip situation. Really, that's the takeaway. Okay. I haven't taken my money off Binance .us, but
God, I mean, we better hope that Binance doesn't go down. That would be catastrophic.
It'd be pretty bad.
It'd be really bad. It'd be really bad. And FTX has hurt investor confidence is what it's done. And I am of the belief that it was part of a greater game plan to push regulation, to be able to point at crypto and say, look, let that one bad apple spoil the bunch, spoil the barrel. Like, at the end of the day, that's where I kind of feel like this was headed. And so to kind of combat that, myself, BitBoy, a few other influencers, and some people who lost some money from FTX, we are going down to the Bahamas. I'm not technically supposed to release the dates, but I can tell you it's really soon. And I'm going to be going down there with Ben. We've got some stuff planned. We've got some big meetings that are happening. Again, some of this is just confidential. Can't speak on what and where and why, whatever the case may be. But let me just say this. We are going down there to fight for the people, because at the end of the day, we need to be spokespersons for each and every one of you watching this show. I don't say that for anybody to pat me on the back. I say that to say, I want to see crypto stay and stick around. And I'm concerned that we are pushing towards this idea that, hey, all we need is CBDCs, and maybe we'll let you keep Bitcoin and maybe ETH, but the rest of crypto can pound sand. And I'm really hoping that we can point out the reality. And the reality is this: centralization has failed us. No computer code's been robbing people right now, short of something that was written to, you know what I mean? There's not a decentralized app that ultimately is just out there taxing people in terms of like just, absolutely robbing them blind. And, they don't have $8 billion missing, right? No, people have greed. Greed takes over. Greed, power, governments, it all kind of falls together. And all of a sudden you've got what looks like a game plan. And we don't want that. We want this to shine with the fact that, hey, decentralization can work if we're willing to give it a chance. So we're going to be rocking that out. Gentlemen, thank you very much for coming on this evening. As always, you guys killed it, T-Shroom. We're definitely going to have you back, brother. I think Tim is going to be on next Thursday. So make sure that you guys are here for that. Magic, you're on just about every Thursday, so we'll see you back again next week. And just a reminder to everybody, Mondays have turned to a more altcoin-centric show. That also has a decent little bit of technical analysis. Bill Noble will be coming back. We've got Forrest on there. We've got a lot of other big names in the space as it relates to TA. So that's going to be Monday is going to be more the altcoin. Thursday is going to continue to be overall macro markets. So make sure to follow T-Shroom at Investing Bros with a Z. Make sure to follow Magic Internet Money at Leading Crypto. Their information is down below the stream. Obviously, make sure you're subbing to us. Smash the likes. Have a great night, guys. You could be anywhere on a Thursday night. You're hanging out with Debate Crypto. So we love you. We appreciate each and every one of you for being here. Just remember to question everything. Trust nothing. And until next time, hodl like it's hot. We will see you soon.